Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool episode for you. We're actually going to be reviewing a channel first. We're actually reviewing a model from the brand Spinnaker. Now, a little bit about the brand. They're a micro brand and they're offering very classic nautical design aesthetics at a really affordable price in a modern package. So, pretty simple, I think, mission statement there as far as what they're bringing. So this particular type of watch I would consider really just an everyday watch, some key common characteristics and design language. When you're looking for an everyday watch, you're going to be looking for something that is, of course, a versatile blend of sporty and dressy attributes. Now, I think this is definitely more on the sporty side, but I think it also does dress up pretty well with kind of the new business casual, quote unquote. So I think it's a really good look. The particular model itself is the Hull, and this is the particular blue dial unit, and it does definitely have a Panerai-esque design without actually, being a one-for-one copy of a Panerai. It's one of those things. There are only so many original ideas left in the world, and then there's even less original designs that are left out there. So I think what this watch does, it actually does offer you a couple of nice little changes and unique features, I think, that set it apart from just being a very basic Panerai homage, to where it gives it a bit of a personality of its own, and at the price, you really can't argue with that. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, so as you can see here, this wonderful dial is definitely going to be kind of the main selling point for this watch. I mean, of course, the case is definitely a big part of it, but the dial itself is this really cool kind of fume style dial where it has that gradient kind of from a highlight to a low light as it extends to the outer reaches of the dial. And then not only does it have kind of a matted fume dial style, it actually has a sandwich style dial as well, which means there's just cutouts there where the indices go, and then it's actually backed by the luminous material. So really cool. The really nice thing about this is the price. This is $250 directly from Spinnaker. So really great pricing there. I think it's really right on point for what you're getting, especially the amount of watch you're getting. You're getting a pretty nice quality strap here that's even actually waterproofed. So that's really nice. And then of course the aesthetic itself is really nice, and it does feel very solid. I mean, this does not some high-end luxury bargain by any means, but for what it is and what it's trying to do, it does it really well. And I'd say that the execution is it leaves very little to be desired as far as the overall fit and finish from that side of it. And of course, I think the aesthetic is actually pretty pleasing to the eye. I think out of their current lineup, I'm sure they have more things coming out, this was the one that really spoke to me the most. And obviously I'm not a huge even Panerai fan, so that's saying a lot. Now, as far as this particular dims go, they did flash across the screen in the beginning of the video, but just to recap, this is 42 millimeters in diameter with a 48 millimeter lug to lug and a 15.5 millimeter height. It is of course made out of full stainless steel, and then it's pretty much fully polished except for the bezel there, which is a fixed bezel, but that is actually fully brushed. So I think really nice play on the finishing there, and then also having the reflective portion in this larger style cushion case. It definitely helps kind of reflect your skin back at you, which will actually help the watch wear a bit smaller, which I think is pretty nice. The crystal is a mineral crystal. It is double domed, so as you can see there, no distortion. I mean, maybe at a really harsh angle, but generally pretty distortion free, which is nice. So very legible, nice clarity there from the mineral crystal. Of course, I would have preferred a sapphire, but at this price point, you really can't argue too much. Now, the crown is screw down, and it's signed with that kind of Spinnaker sailboat sail there, as you can see, which is also a continuing theme here on the see-through case back. So it's nice to have that display case back. You can see the NH35A in there underneath the little branding. So I think it's kind of a cool touch to just add a little bit of something special on the back versus just, you know, which would have been expected would have been just kind of a clear display window. So I think it's kind of fun when they do stuff like this, especially considering that the NH35 is not like a highly decorated or you know, it's not something that you necessarily really need a good look at. It's a real workhorse movement, but it's definitely not something that's there for a lot of you know, to garner a lot of views or anything like that. But it's nice to see everything back there and see the parts moving away. So I think it definitely still gets that basic idea, but I think it dresses it up in its own little way though, a little bit nicely there. So again, now as far as the dial hands and loom go, we do have that beautiful sandwich dial. It has these great matte hands, which of course are going to catch the light really nicely and make sure that the legibility is always something that's going to be working for you. And then it does have that old radium superluminova. It's water resistant to 10 atmospheres or 100 meters. It has 22 millimeter lugs. It has this great vintage style leather strap that tapers down to about a 20 millimeter from the 22 on the top. So I think that's a pretty decent taper on it. So you do still kind of have the more substantial feel that goes all the way around, which I think definitely suits the look of this particular watch. And then of course you do have the signed buckle there. I feel like the kind of the fork there probably could have been a little bit thicker. It seems like it's just kind of a bent piece of metal. It would have been nice to see something that was milled that kind of matched the little bit bulkier, more robust nature of the rest of this great stainless steel buckle there. But other than that, you know, not too much to complain about. So let's go ahead and get this piece on the wrist. Okay, as you can see, it wears very nicely on my 7 1/4 inch wrist there. Hand open gives you a little bit better idea of scale. Let me throw a little bit more of my arm in there so you can see it doesn't really appear too oversized or anything like that. Excuse me. Of course, up close, it's definitely going to appear much bigger, just like any wristy, just because of kind of the distortion from the lens that you're going to be getting. But I think it wears really nice. I mean, honestly, kind of earlier in my collecting, I would buy a lot of these types of straps, and they were not cheap, and I'd put them on divers, and I'd kind of be going for the same aesthetic, but you know, versus now you can kind of get this right out of the box, which is really nice. And then of course it's also nice that the movement is hacking and hand windable, very reliable. So I think that's really great. And as you can see, because of the polished nature of the watch and the nice little slight taper and it's rounded off, it does wear really quite comfortably. You know, it could be considered a bit tall, but I think it's wide enough. Of course, if this was like a 38 millimeter watch and it was this tall, it would definitely look like a small bubble. But because it does distribute that weight really well, I think the proportions end up actually complementing everything pretty well there. So not too much to say, and of course it does actually wear really nice. I think you almost expect it to be a bit heavier, but it's not, because it's on a leather strap, which definitely saves a lot of weight there. So kind of cool. I think it would be nice for them to actually offer a metal strap option. You know, I could probably think of a couple of straight end link options that might look pretty cool on here. But I think really, you know, this type of strap really ties into kind of that look. So for 98% of the population out there, they're going to be totally fine with this type of strap. And, you know, not only fine, but this is the type of strap that they're looking for. So let's go ahead and get some low light transition going. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights. So as you can see, the loom is actually really quite good, which I think definitely suits the kind of theme there and what you're looking for with that more kind of toolish design. And then, you know, it's nice that the old radium loom, you can see here, is actually performing quite well. A lot of times that kind of style with the patina loom ends up being a good bit weaker in practice. So it's really nice to see the execution here. But let's go ahead and move on to some low light transition shots. So, you know, as you guys know, my studio lights definitely do a good job of simulating direct sunlight. But a nice thing about getting some of these low light transitions is it actually gives you kind of a good idea of what this is going to look like in most situations, which is not necessarily going to be in the middle of a park on a bright sunny day. You know, you're going to be going in and out of your vehicle, in and out of buildings and whatnot. And here you can also see that finishing, although it is a high polish around most of the case there, you can see, of course, on the tops of the lugs and that bezel there, that it actually, the light does play quite nicely on it, and you can see it's very evenly finished. So that's really nice. And then you actually do get a nice idea of the way that the light will hit the logo there. Also, how that dial transitions from being a very blue dial to being something that's a lot closer to a black, which is really interesting and does add a nice visual play to the timepiece, which I think at the end of the day is something that really contributes to kind of the wearability of it. You know, is it going to give you any interest while you're wearing it? Is it fun? So I think, you know, there's definitely a huge market for a watch like this. And really on wrist, it has that great bold wear that a lot of people are looking for. It has tons of presence and personality with a really versatile color palette. I mean, this right here can go with about probably 90% of the clothes that I wear. And, you know, I could probably build an entire wardrobe around this kind of aesthetic, and it would still be very much in style. So it's a great looking piece. Again, it's nothing that's going to be mind blowing as far as kind of that fit and finish go. It's nothing transcendent. But it does the job and it does it well. It's not really lacking. It's executing, I'd say, what its game plan was, you know, pretty much to a T. So as far as model variants go, there's also a brown dial, a green dial, and then there's also a brown dial with a black case. Comparable models, you know, there's not too much I'd say are directly comparable. There's definitely other niche players that are out there, but I think that they're just a lot more kind of out of this price range as far as really trying to capture that Panerai style without actually being some type of direct homage or knockoff to an existing model. So I'd say the bottom line is this is really just a great entry-level choice for those who really enjoy that vintage aesthetic. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.